woman will never admit these vulnerabilities, not out of concealment, but from a profound yearning for a man whose strength allows him to perceive what lies beneath. Most men remain captivated by the surface. The allure of skin, the grace of curves, the perfection of a smile. Yet beneath that visible beauty simmers an internal tension, a storm she herself may not fully comprehend, a deep-seated desire she feels incapable of confessing openly. Your compliments, however well-intentioned, often fall flat. What she truly craves is your unwavering presence, your grounded existence beside her. She doesn't seek your approval. She aches to feel the sharp edge of your authentic self, your unyielding core. Your role isn't to impress her with performances. It's to read her with intuitive precision. To observe the subtle flicker in her eyes when you choose deliberate silence. To detect the faint hesitation lacing her voice when she insists she's fine. To recognize the vulnerability, the small crack, that exists just behind the facade of her strength. This isn't about cunning manipulation. It represents a deeper form of masculine master Stoic, inherently sexual, and unshakably solid. You are not present to expose her secrets against her will. Your purpose is to remain profoundly calm, centered, and unmoved as she naturally reveals herself, layer by layer. It is this very stillness, this refusal to be drawn into her turbulence, that renders you uniquely compelling, even dangerous in her perception. Now, shifting focus to the core of her hidden nature, consider the first profound craving, the desire for ownership. You observe her across a crowded space, radiating confidence, seemingly untouchable, entirely in command. She cultivates this image meticulously, wanting the world and you to believe she reigns supreme. Yet, here lies the profound secret. Her deepest, most primal longing is the exact opposite. It isn't domination she seeks, but surrender. Not surrender to a pleading, insecure man, but to one whose strength is absolute, who meets her gaze without the slightest flinch. She yearns to be taken, claimed not through brute force, but through the sheer, undeniable weight of authentic masculine presence. This is her concealed vulnerability. She desires to be possessed emotionally, mentally, sexually by a man capable of holding all her complexities, her intensities, her contradictions, without ever losing his own center, his own unwavering sense of self. Society, however, has relentlessly instructed her that this desire is archaic, wrong, even shameful. So she buries it deep, camouflaging her fantasy beneath layers of performative feminism and carefully constructed declarations of fierce independence. Still, her body remembers the truth. She will instinctively test you, push you away, feign disinterest, challenge your resolve and authority. But beneath these defenses, she is waiting, consciously or not, for one thing only, a man who doesn't ask for permission to lead. He simply does so, with quiet assurance. This is the essence of the Stoic man. He possesses the perceptiveness to read the room, to see the unmistakable hunger flickering in her eyes, and yet he remains utterly unshaken. He doesn't engage in frantic chasing. His movements are deliberate, his silence potent, his command emanating from a deep inner stillness. The potent contrast between her inner emotional storm and his outer unassailable calm ignites something ancient and primal within her. This resonance bypasses logic entirely, compelling her towards a state of submission she might not even consciously acknowledge she desired. Most men never reach this depth. They exhaust themselves trying to impress with words, to seduce with grand gestures, to prove their worth through external validation. Yet a woman is not conquered by clever phrases or demonstrations. She is claimed through the magnetic pull of unapologetic masculine gravitia force that arises from deep inner conviction and presence. Become that undeniable force, and she will follow your lead, breathless, awakened, and profoundly grateful. The second layer reveals that while her lips may weave lies, her true weakness is emotional nudity. A woman can dissemble with her words, construct elaborate verbal defenses, but her raw emotions, her palpable energy, the silent language of her body, these never deceive. She might declare, "I'm not looking for anything serious," while her dilated pupils and shallow breathing scream intense attraction across the table. She might assert, "I don't catch feelings. while compulsively checking your social media stories in the lonely hours of 3 a.m. She might insist, "We're just having fun." Yet her demeanor turns icy, revealing deep possessiveness the moment you engage another woman. Her words function as armor, a protective shell. It is her observable behavior that relentlessly exposes the underlying truth. This is her second fundamental vulnerability. She possesses a deep-seated desire to feel emotionally naked, to be seen completely in her messy imperfections, her raw lust, her baffling contradictions without facing judgment, dissection, or clinical analysis. However, here lies the critical catch. Most men are either oblivious to these signals, blind to the subtext, or they become emotionally unmoored themselves when they do perceive the depth, reacting with neediness or insecurity. The Stoic man operates on an entirely different frequency. He watches with keen attention, listens with profound depth, and waits with infinite patience. He perceives her inner turmoil, witnesses the storm raging within, yet he remains as immovable and steadfast as a mountain. He doesn't anxiously demand, "What are we?" He doesn't plead, "Do you love me?" He already possesses the answers, not by clinging to her spoken words, but by tuning into the powerful emotional frequency resonating beneath them. True Stoicism teaches that appearances are inherently deceptive. One must judge by consistent actions, not shifting words. Therefore, when she laughs a little too loudly, presents herself a little too perfectly, boasts about how utterly unbothered she is by life's currents, he sees past the performance to the genuine woman concealed behind the act, and when he finally chooses to speak, he doesn't resort to hollow flattery. Instead, with calm certainty, he might simply state, "You don't have to pretend around me." The impact is profound. Her physical defenses might not instantly crumble, but her soul will open, vulnerable, and seen. This is genuine emotional intimacy. This is the essence of real, lasting seduction. The third dynamic involves drama as her unconscious addiction and calmness as your supreme power. Women often verbally express a desire for peace and tranquility. Yet, observe closely. Many are subtly addicted to the emotional charge of chaos. She may initiate petty, unnecessary arguments, disappear for hours without explanation, or construct elaborate, illogical narratives in her mind. Why? Because drama, however destructive, offers her a twisted sense of control, and intense emotion serves as her primary language. She tests you not necessarily to inflict pain, but to measure your mettle, to see if you will lose your composure, if you will chase her emotionally, if you will argue back like an impulsive boy, or stand resolute like a grounded man. This represents her third intrinsic weakness. She subconsciously engineers tension simply to gauge your reaction, to feel the strength or weakness of your emotional core. When you steadfastly refuse to provide the volatile emotional spike she unconsciously craves, she faces a critical juncture. She either evolves beyond the need for that chaotic stimulus, or she disappears from your sphere. Either outcome signifies your victory. The Stoic man does not flinch when deliberately provoked. He does not resort to begging when she withdraws or turns cold. He does not engage in desperate fights for attention. Instead, he attracts genuine attention precisely by doing nothing that is emotionally unnecessary, by embodying a profound stillness. As Seneca wisely noted, "If you want to win, learn to endure without complaint." She may not even intellectually understand why your quiet, unyielding silence affects her so intensely, but it undeniably does. It compels her to reflect inwardly, to fully experience the weight of her own manufactured drama without the option of dragging you into its vortex. When you maintain your calm, you hold the masculine frame steady and secure. And within the sanctuary of that unwavering frame, she discovers she can finally, truly rest. Not because you forcibly tamed her wildness, but because you resolutely refused to participate in her chaotic dance. The fourth dimension reveals her immersion in fantasy and the potent weakness created by grounded reality. Let's speak with raw honesty. Every woman harbors a fantasy, a vivid internal narrative playing constantly in the theater of her mind. It rarely features a man defined solely by a respectable job. It transcends conventional notions of romance or bouquets of flowers. At its core, it is about power dynamics. It centers on a man who pins her against the wall, who makes her feel deliciously small, utterly feminine, and completely relinquishing control. Yet, here lies the inherent glitch. Her fantasy man remains a phantom, a figment. Why? Because most real men fall into two equally ineffective categories. They are either too timid, lacking the courage to lead decisively, or they are too thirsty, their neediness eroding any potential for genuine respect. The sixth mechanism is the validation fix. Her need to confirm she retains power over your emotional state. Have you ever wondered why a woman you barely interact with still meticulously views every one of your social media stories? Or why an ex-partner texts you out of the blue, seemingly at random, precisely when you've demonstrably moved on and ceased caring? It's rarely about lingering love or genuine missing. It's fundamentally about validation hunger. This is her sixth intrinsic weakness. She possesses a deep-seated need to confirm she can still elicit an emotional response from you, that she still holds sway over your attention. Because within her experiential framework, attention operates as a core currency. Your focused attention, your visible reaction, serves as tangible proof that she still possesses value, that she still matters in your emotional landscape. Herein lies the trap. Most men, perhaps hoping to rekindle something or win her back, eagerly give her exactly what she seeks. They reply instantly to her baiting messages. They shower her with compliments. They allow her ego to feed voraciously on their time and emotional energy. But this only serves to reinforce her addiction, fueling the very cycle you wish to escape. The Stoic man possesses the clarity to see through the transparent bait. She sends a casual, "Hey, just checking in." He recognizes the underlying motive instantly. Ah, she needs her validation hit. He intentionally delays his response. He replies slowly, thoughtfully, perhaps minimally or maybe not at all. Why? Because he understands with crystal clarity that every time you provide an immediate, emotionally charged response, you are essentially paying her ego tax. The man who wields genuine power isn't deliberately rude. He is simply not readily available for this form of emotional charity. And this calculated, controlled unavailability drives her fascination in the most potent, undeniably sexual way possible. She will inevitably wonder what you're doing, why you haven't responded, if you're with someone else, and within that space of uncertainty, her imagination runs wild, building fantasies around your absence. Why? Because the man who confidently denies her ego's demands effortlessly owns her imagination. The seventh challenge is the identity crisis, her fluid sense of self, which craves your stable anchor. You ask her directly what she truly wants in a man. Her answers often reveal the conflict. She cites confidence, then immediately adds kindness. She expresses a desire for a gentleman, yet also confesses a longing for a savage. She wants to feel profoundly safe and protected, yet also intensely dominated. The resulting confusion you feel? She experiences it tenfold within herself. This is her seventh core vulnerability. Her sense of identity often feels fluid, shifting, and this inherent instability terrifies her on a deep level. She is a commanding boss in her professional sphere, yet at night, in private, she yearns to be utterly devoured, consumed. She fiercely proclaims her independence, yet when enveloped by the presence of a genuinely strong man, she softens, melts, and secretly revels in that surrender. The modern woman has been relentlessly instructed by society to embody impossible contradictions, to be powerfully sexy but never vulnerable, fiercely ambitious yet softly feminine, relentlessly hard-working yet perpetually tender-hearted. The weight of these conflicting expectations is exhausting. Consequently, she seeks men who can provide a stable anchor, not to control her every move, not to fix her perceived complexities, but simply to remain unwavering, grounded, and consistent while she navigates the ongoing process of figuring herself out. The Stoic man fulfills this exact role perfectly. He doesn't react with confusion or frustration when her expressed personality flips unexpectedly. He doesn't engage in arguments when she blatantly contradicts herself from one moment to the next. He might simply offer, with steady assurance, "You don't need to have all the answers about who you are when you're around me. Just be here, fully, in this moment. I'll remain the same, solid and sure." It is this profound stability, this unwavering consistency, that becomes the catalyst for her falling. Because within a world saturated with identity confusion and societal pressure, the man who possesses deep self-knowledge and remains true to his core naturally becomes her essential compass, her point of reference in the emotional storm. The eighth facet involves the too strong act, where her visible strength is actually a shield protecting profound vulnerability. She enters a room projecting the aura of a queen, head held imperiously high, voice sharp and commanding. She pays her own bills without hesitation, tolerates no disrespect, handles her own affairs. You might interpret this as evidence she has no need for you, that she is entirely self-sufficient. This is a critical misjudgment. This formidable exterior represents her eighth fundamental weakness. Her pronounced strength is frequently a survival mask, meticulously crafted and worn out of necessity. She has been forced to develop this armor because weak men consistently failed her in the past, because trust was shattered into betrayal, because the world often punishes women who dare to remain soft and open. So she encased herself in steel. But what remains unseen beneath this carapace is a secret, potent craving to be led not by a domineering tyrant, but by a man possessing sufficient inner strength to handle the full force of her fire without being consumed or intimidated by it. She likely doesn't require your financial support. What she deeply needs is your emotional fortitude, your capacity for decisive action, your unwavering ability to state boundaries firmly. We're doing it this way, without a flicker of doubt or apology. When you demonstrate a complete lack of fear towards her sharp edges, when you calmly pull her close even as she vents her frustration, when you lead with genuine love, yet without a trace of unnecessary apology for your strength or decisions, she can finally, truly relax. Because a powerful woman doesn't genuinely desire a constant battle with her partner. She longs to submit to a man whose strength is absolute, a man who will not buckle under pressure. The ninth and final pattern involves thought loops, her tendency towards overthinking, which only your decisive presence can interrupt. Have you witnessed her mind descend into a spiral? You make an innocuous remark, perhaps entirely harmless, and she replays it relentlessly, 40 times over, constructing elaborate scenarios, generating waves of drama from mere silence. Why does this occur? Because women often process emotions and experiences not in linear logical sequences, but in loop circular patterns of thinking that can become echo chambers for anxiety and doubt. This is her ninth intrinsic vulnerability. She can become trapped within the confines of her own mind, cycling through worries and interpretations, unable to escape the mental vortex unless you decisively interrupt the pattern. Crucially, you don't achieve this through logical explanations, reasoned arguments, or frantic attempts to fix her feelings. You break the loop through direct, grounded masculine interruption. It might involve firmly grabbing her waist, locking eyes with unwavering intensity, and commanding, "Stop thinking. Come here." It could be the deliberate touch on her neck, pulling her body close against yours, kissing her with the possessive certainty that she belongs to you. Suddenly, she is jolted out of the labyrinth of her thoughts, pulled back into the immediacy of her body, anchored firmly in the present moment. The Stoic man doesn't waste energy arguing with the content of her swirling thoughts. He masterfully replaces the chaotic mental noise with the undeniable power of his physical and emotional presence. This is the essence of real, transformative seduction. The act of guiding her from the paralysis of over-analysis into the liberating state of pure, embodied surrender. Women possess these vulnerabilities not because they are inherently flawed beings, but precisely because they are deeply emotional, profoundly sensual, and intricately psychological creatures. Your role, as a man aspiring to genuine connection, isn't to exploit these perceived cracks for personal gain. It is to cultivate a deep understanding of them, to remain unshakably solid, a bedrock of calm, when faced with the intensity of their emotional storms, to stay firmly grounded, centered in your own truth, when they momentarily lose their own sense of control. This steadiness, this unwavering inner fortitude, is the true essence of authentic masculine power, the kind that fosters connection rather than domination.